Welcome to the Occupational Safety Leadership Podcast, episode number 192. And in today's episode, we will sit down and just kick around a couple of ideas about a safety inspection interval. And when we think about that, the one thing that works for me, doesn't mean it works for you, is to really sit down and have that safety inspection done on a monthly basis. I found for me that really works out great and fantastic. It also, of course, depends upon the hazards of the workplace. If you're working in an office cube farm, you may choose to do it once every 3 months or 4 months. There's still going to be things you have to do every month, like the fire extinguishers and the exit lights, of course, obviously. But I mean like a full-blown safety inspection out there. And while we're talking about an interval, because they're probably, besides if you're looking at program things like the OSHA Voluntary Protection Program, which has a monthly inspection in there, it's really going to be based on the hazards and what you come up with then as a appropriate interval. So again, the monthly works out awesome for me, but it depends upon the workplace. I would say that um, every time we walk through the workplace as safety professionals, we're actually performing a safety inspection then. So we're always doing a informal safety inspection as opposed to a formal safety inspection then. Um, so there's not going to be ideal out there. I have found that when it appears that things are slipping, we'll just say, you start to find where there's things are being blocked now. Fire extinguishers are not being inspected on a monthly basis. Your eye washes, you have to go back on whether you do them on a monthly or the best industry practice on a weekly basis. You go back, you document all that good stuff. Then, when I do see where things are starting to slip, I'll obviously spend more time in the workplace, and there's a reason why that it slipped out there too. Is it that we're not giving people adequate time to really do it right? I haven't met anybody who literally says, I'm trying to do things wrong and I don't care what the consequences are. There's a lot of folks who don't really understand why that these things happen, of course, too. So, as I was a very young safety professional, I noticed that a pallet of things were always parked at a electrical panel. And of course, you go get the supervisor and it just gets moved. And it's really fast, easy fix. But the bigger question is, why does it happen over and over and over again? So I did manage to figure out who the person was. And even the supervisor was having a hard time trying to figure out this whole thing. The person wasn't doing it wrong. They felt so, I mean, they weren't doing it wrong on purpose. They knew what they were doing is wrong. But in their mind, they had every intention on, I'm just putting it there on a temporary basis. I'll be right back. I'll take care of this in an hour or two. I got a million things happening. So there's a lot of times where we really have to sit down and make sure people understand the why behind it, and not just you have to do it because the safety guy said so, and it's on a check sheet, checklist, and when he finds it wrong, well, then it counts as a finding. So the bigger key is to understand why it happens, address why it happens, and then folks, of course, from that point on, will go back and understand the why as a opposed to, oh, here comes the safety guy, here comes a write-up of some sort, somebody did something wrong. So we should also share our safety inspection things out there too. And of course, in more episodes, we'll sit down and talk about who should really do this and all that. But everybody should understand the standard. This shouldn't be a form that the safety professionals have, and they kind of hide, and they kind of keep to themselves, and they spring it upon somebody and say, oh, well, item 4, section 3, I see where you were wrong. Like, really help people to understand this stuff. So at this point, I'm starting to ramble on, so let's just go ahead and wrap it up. So in today's episode, we talked about the safety inspection, the interval that you would use. For me, of course, I really like to do a monthly interval. I see where things are slipping. I'm not opposed to doing it every two weeks, also. But sit down, assess the hazards that you have out there, and then look at what you're going to use for your interval. So I wish I could tell you that there's a magic formula. Everybody in the office should do it every 3 months. Everybody who's doing PSM should do it every week. There's just not a magic formula out there. It's really based on the hazards that you're going to find over in the workplace. And with that, let's wrap it up. 192 is complete. Thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. David Ayers. Thank you and have a safe day.